Well, good morning everybody, it's the Treasure Pirate here. Having taken great inspiration from the wonderful Carla, I have decided this is the best way to show you my sales because I can't get my head around technology, so you are balanced precariously in front of my computer. What I really wanted to show you, because it's so long since I've done this, for which I can only apologise, is to show you some of the more interesting sales and maybe things that are going to sell well from now in the run up until Christmas. I'm not a massive Q4 kind of person. I tend to find my sales are reasonably consistent throughout the year. Some dips in summer. Because a lot of what I'm selling is clothing, it's much more arbitrary. Although I do find there are certain things people want to buy around this time of year. And I've still got some games to get rid of. Thank you, Nick. So while I'm selling those, I am majoring more on clothes. So I thought I'd show you a little smorgasbord of what I've been selling over the last month or so. Certainly the more interesting stuff. I have found sales have been really up and down. I've had days when it seems like someone's gone and switched eBay off on me, and other days when it's clearly been flicked back on and they've come thick and fast. Old stuff, new stuff, stuff I've had on there for like eons and almost forgotten I'd got, has been selling. So it's all been a bit bizarre. I have to tell myself not to worry about these things, that it will all even out. And if you look at your figures over, or let's say a 2-month period or even a 6-month period, you'll see that that's the figure to be looking at, is the overall picture, rather than getting too caught up in what happens on one day or the next. I had a real run on returns, and not because anything was wrong with the item, and I have taken to measuring things and putting as much as I can information, but people still don't look at that. So they kind of find that something's far too small or far too big, even though I've stated quite clearly in the listing what sort of size it is and all the relevant measurements, and they've still paid no attention whatsoever, and stuff has come back to me. But it keeps selling again, so hey, you know, generally I feel like I'm probably doing the right thing. So without further ado, you're staring at this boring black jacket. It may look boring, but these military style jackets, I will pick them up at every turn. You see this lovely piping. Who remembers Adam the Ants? Well, this style is alive and kicking. This is a very subtle version of it. It was only an M&S one, and it's quite shiny. It had this lovely sort of peplumy detail around the bottom there. Really rather nice. Far too big for me, so that wasn't happening. And I have too many jackets, I have to say. You see, I do put on, oh, bad picture, I do put on the instructions because it saves me writing it out. Anyway, there it was, a very handsome M&S limited collection job, and it had these funny hook and eye fasteners, which personally I find a right pain. Give me a button any day. But there you go. That one I've written down what I paid for them. I've been organised. This isn't like me. What is happening? So I paid £3.50 for this and sold it for £19.99. That's the kind of margin I'm seriously looking for. I don't want to be paying charity shop prices for something and then not selling it for a decent amount. By the time everybody's had their little cut out of it, there's not a massive profit. And when you think of the amount of time you spend, taking the cat hair off something, whether it's your cat or somebody else's, sprucing it up, photographing it, ironing it, washing it if needs be. It's your time is valuable as well, and I kind of feel, and I'm trying to move towards higher end items with bigger profits, because I'm lazy that way and I really can't be asked to be trying to sell something for a tenner. Even if I've paid £1 for it, it's still a lot of work with a smaller margin. So there we go, that was item number 1. Military jackets. Do keep your eyes open. It doesn't matter if they're velvet, satin, faux leather, whatever. They are going to sell. Whether or not someone used to be a fan of Adam the Ants, but they've got a big market in them, so keep an eye out for those. You can't go wrong. This doesn't look much. That's a boring picture. This is a slightly less boring picture. Mrs. M, wonderful Caroline, was talking about these sort of big brochures that the dealers give out to people with lots and lots of money for lovely cars. That's not me. You should see the state of mine. Anyway, this was a lovely brochure, very heavy, a real pain. It had a DVD in the back of it as well for a very posh BMW. It was a lovely production, beautifully photographed, very few words in it, so don't know what that tells you about someone who owns a BMW, but maybe not. A nice DVD in the bag. So I took as many reasonable pictures, there we go, as I could of it. It was a lovely thing. I didn't pay much for it. I think I paid £2.50 for it. It was a charity shop find. So I whisked that away and sold it for £24.99. And I put £4.99 shipping on it because it was bloody heavy. That went quite quickly. I only really had that on for about 3 weeks. A lot of my stuff I would say is fairly slow burn. But I was pleased that that went quickly. And all those numbers on the front were me doing my research on eBay and finding someone who had the same thing who'd sold it. I know nothing about BMWs because I've never had one. And I'm not likely to either, actually, the rate I'm going. Here we go. Right, next one. Right, seemingly a dull pair of trousers. All I can say to you out there, anyone who does ladies' clothing, and if you don't, why are you watching this, is wide leg trousers, particularly the sort of palazzo pants style, ones that have a nice fabric content, you know, not 100% nylon. You're probably going to find anything with wool content, particularly if it's lined and quality made. And I made a great point of showing that these were lined. Didn't I? Yes, there we go, lined. Lined. But they are toast as well. And toast is a make that's very popular at the moment, quite a high end. These are quite huge. I've had these back once already, so I have put all the measurements in. So I'm hoping when they fly this time, they'll stay where they're put. A very popular style at the moment and worth keeping an eye out for. In fact, this isn't the only pair I've sold this month, but, you know, hey-ho, how many pairs of trousers do you really want to see? I put the keywords and palazzo because they're wide leg. We've got wide leg, pure wool, turn-ups because these have got these little turn-ups on the bottom, someone might be looking for that. And of course they are actually a form of houndstooth. I did a lot of research. I probably wasted myself down a rabbit hole of information about what's houndstooth, what's dog's tooth, I think there's even puppy tooth as well. Very strange. They're really just styles of the way the wool is woven, and they're pretty much all the same. So as long as you get one of those in there, most people are probably going to look for houndstooth. If that's what they're after, it seems to be in at the moment. So there we go, they were in nice condition. I was quite glad to see the back of them. I'd love them myself, but funnily enough, I can't wear wool, in spite of the fact I sell quite a lot of it. Makes me itch. That's probably too much information. Right, now this was a fabulous jumper. Lovely. It's got these buttons on the side. And you know, whenever I see a nice jumper, I want to know it's made of something lovely. And if it's got a nice handmade label in it, then I'm all the happier. And this one was a fella's one. Lovely buttons. And it was Guernsey woolens. I'll show you the label. There we go. Made in Guernsey, British Isles by Guernsey woolens. This looked like it seriously hadn't been worn. It was a large size. It was a men's, and I could tell because they had extremely long sleeves. Really nice, really beautiful. Oh, and it was an XL. There you go. My lovely finger in there. That does happen. My fat fingers seem to feature in this quite a lot. These always sell. They never go out of fashion. There were people who loved them. I put it's a Breton style because this kind of onion seller style probably isn't the politically correct term to use. So there we go. Breton style. A lovely quality thing. No, I've not told you what I paid for this, have I? I only paid £2 for this. I've got a lady at a flea market I go to, and she basically charges me about £2 an item on everything, unless it's something super special, and I'll pay a little bit more. But I do find she's a very good source of stuff, and those toast trousers, I have forgotten to tell you because I haven't got my head on today, only cost me £1.50. So just so you know. Now this sold for $44.99. Which is pretty good, and post and package on top. A high quality item with a good price on it. Definitely happy day there when I sold that one. So where do we go next? This might come out slightly dark, but if I show you, it isn't denim. It was sort of a very heavy denim type fabric, and this was it white stuff? Yeah, this was a white stuff dress. Now, I'm one of these people that can shove my hand in a pile of clothing and I'll pick the thing out that feels nice. I'm very I was going to say I'm very touchy-feely, but that probably is the wrong thing to say to you lot. I'm very sensate. I have textures and pattern and the feel of something I have always been incredibly attuned to. So when I see something that looks like this, I know it's going to be a good item. Handy pockets is. Nicely made. White stuff is always sought after. Very plain and simple, but perfect for this time of year. This was a lovely thing. I did pay up for it because I shouldn't say that, should I? Who was it that told me not to say that? I did pay £7.50 for it, but it really looked like it had been unworn, or worn once or twice at the most. And it was in beautiful condition, and it did make me £43 with shipping on top, so I'm not complaining there. It's a good return on investment, and an easy, quick sale. So, you know, these kind of autumny dresses do keep an eye out for, and don't be afraid to invest in a quality item. If you can be fairly sure, and you've done your research and you've got your knowledge behind it, you see one of these out there, do pay for it, because this is what you'll get back, and it's so much less work working that way. So, next thing I've got to show you. Yes. Hard to photograph, as you can see. They didn't come out... Yeah. I knew the design, because as soon as I saw these, I knew this very Louis 18th century style. They're called Sevre. There we go. S-E-V-R-E. It's this particular blue that is that colour. And anyone who's into sort of Regency style will very much like this. And yes, I am. So they leapt out at me. They came in a box, which was lovely. They were in pretty good condition. I did have to clean them up. I have to say, whoever was eating on these was very, very messy indeed. But a quick clean up, and they were looking absolutely fabulous. I think there's a better photograph of the one in the box. This lovely colour with what looks like a gold. A bit out there, quite loud, to be honest. But then that Star Wars. And this brand Clover Leaf, I know people have picked them up and had various success with them. But they're high quality items, and if you get the right patterns, people will pay for them. And I paid, what did I pay? £2.50 for them. And the fact the box is a bit tatty is hardly surprising. They're probably from way back in the 70s. And they were £18.99, so that was pretty good. They didn't take too long to sell. But do remember with your postage, these things are surprisingly heavy. And I'm guessing those of you out there who use... That's annoying when it does that. Those out there who use my Hermes, and I'm one of them, especially with postal strikes coming up, I think a lot of people are flipping over to Hermes. I find it very, very easy, but for anybody who might be wondering, what I do is anything that's under a kilo, I just import straight away. I've got my eBay account linked up, and that's quite easy to do, and I simply import the items into my Hermes, and it instantly does it. Takes all the details, takes all the time. If you've got something that weighs between 1 and 2 kilos, you don't want to import it. What you need to do is enter it manually. Sounds like a ridiculous waste of time, but if it's a small parcel, you will still only get charged £2.79 for it. If you just import it and then say, oh yes, it weighs more than a kilo, you're going to end up paying £3.99 for it. So there's quite a big saving there. So it's a bit of a fanny about, it's a bit of a muck around, but I'm used to doing that now, and it does save money in the long run. Entirely up to you if you want to be bothered doing it, but do take care with it, because you can end up paying more than you need to for post, and I think all of us resent that in a big way. Okay, so that lovely thing there, we'll move on. This is probably one of the world's loudest dressing gowns. And when I saw this, I just thought, ooh, colour. It's heavy, heavy toweling, and although I'm very fond of a dressing gown, I'm not normally looking at modern items. I tend to have a taste for the older ones. But this had a magic label in it as well. I knew it was good, and it was only on for about £3 in a charity shop, bizarrely. But it had a magic label. Kenzo. Now, modern brands I don't generally go for, but this was in very, very good condition. It was a big size, it was great colours. I knew there's someone out there that's going to love it. I mean, crazy, crazy. Nice bright greens, spots. I mean, my God, what hasn't this got? It's got everything. So there we go. So of course I picked it up, and when I got it home and looked it up, there was nothing on eBay the same, but Kenzo used dressing gowns were going for a lot of money. So I did a Nick Hills and went high, and then I went a bit higher, and by the time it got listed, I tried it for $59.99, and you know what? That sold within about 3 weeks. I couldn't have been more chuffed. That's a hell of a return. It was a big item, but it wasn't overly heavy. Yeah, that was probably my sale of September, no, sale of early October. There we go. Very chuffed with that one. So yeah, don't discount something modern. Check for labels. If you see something that looks interesting, give it a look over. It could be Primani, so be it, but you might find it's actually a designer that you didn't expect, because who knew that Kenzo did dressing gowns? I didn't, but I do now. So keep your eyes peeled for those. Here we go again with toast. Now this might look like a very boring picture, and yes it is, but this long lovely beauty, which I really liked, is actually velvet. As you can see from my pictures there, it actually has tiny little marks in each corner, and that's from where someone hung it up. I'm not even sure they wore it. I did declare these, as you can see. It's just where the hanger pressed, but people want this label so badly. This was plainly for a taller lady as well, and it would have looked great on me, but column style isn't me. So here we go. It was actually silk, so it had silk content as well, which I obviously mentioned in the label. I showed the marks quite clearly, along with a bit of my radiator. How lovely. See, I'm quite lucky in my bedroom because I've got a wall that's plain white, which I photograph these things against, and when I've got something that is white, I've got very dark blue cupboards. So I use those as a background. I didn't do it deliberately, but it sort of ended up that way. So there we go, one toast skirt that I basically paid £2 for, because it came as part of my flea market armful, and that was £24.99 plus shipping, so that was a good return. These long skirts, and I'm sure you will have heard Caroline Valentine also saying the same thing, long skirts, whether they're flippy, whether they're bustle, whether they're gothic, maxi, they always sell like hotcakes. I'm a massive fan of them myself, and I know loads of people who pay good money for these things. I was at an event this weekend just gone, which had a bit of a steampunky, witchy flavour, shall we say. And there were people there with stalls, and they were selling sort of newish and new clothes, and the prices on them were eye-watering. They were 50 quid for something that didn't look like it cost that much to make. So, you know, someone buys something like this second-hand, they're getting something beautiful, well made, and at half the price. So never mistake, there is a market for these things that will never go away. Bigger sizes will always do better, but, you know, don't discount the smaller ones and the top-end brands. So keep your eyes peeled. I've got all my keywords in there, of course. Silk blend, maxi, column, wicker, goth, and of course party, because 'tis the season. Some of you out there will celebrate perhaps the more Christmassy season more than the Halloweeny one, but there are people out there who celebrate Halloween quite hard, and I'm one of them. So, next on the list. Gosh, I didn't realise quite how long this list was. Right, here we go. These look so dull. They look like a rag when I picked them up, but I always have a good old look. It's that magic name, Patagonia. You'll have heard people talking about tops and possibly dresses, but these were trousers. And yes, the magic word hemp. They're actually made out of hemp, which is another word for cannabis, I believe. Not something you would put that in your keywords. I think you'd get taken down immediately. They're not the form of cannabis that's going to do anybody any good. They are simply flax, hemp, a very nice, heavy, sturdy material. They're kind of like walking trousers, I suppose. There we go. My photographs weren't brilliant this day, but they've got the Patagonia label in them. There we go, 77% hemp, 23% polyester. They were in pretty good order. They'd obviously been worn a few times, but they still sold for $19.99. They're quite a small size, these ones. I would have said they were 6. I only paid £2 for them because I think these were a flea market find again. But I thought, what the heck? I took a chance. I can't stand there with a phone out checking comps when I'm in the flea market. I am literally in there with ladies with their elbows, digging through. But I just seem to be good at finding stuff, so there we go. I got to them first. No, go me. Right, next on the list. Everybody loves a gilet, especially at this time of year. This was Jack Will's, which always goes a bomb. It's got its hood with it, which sometimes they don't have. I think Carla said that yesterday. I'm sure I watched one of hers where she'd got one that had a hood. Everything pretty good with this one. It was a 14 as well, which was nice. I quite like these, but they do make me look like a lagged hot water tank. I don't think they're particularly flattering on any size, but I guess for warmth you can't really beat them. The ones I particularly look out for are ones that have the duck feather and down in them, because they're heavier, thicker, warmer. Polyester ones will still sell, but you get more money for anything that's got a down filling to it. I think this, I did declare this did have a little bit of rubbing. There we go, I showed a little bit of rubbing around the zip area, and I had actually repaired that, but you know, you have to show it. I'm pretty good at repairs these days. There we go, there's a little duck logo, Jack Wells. So there it was. I thought it was lovely. It had a nice check lining as well. I paid, yes, I did pay for this. I paid $6.99. This was a charity shop purchase, but I knew that this kind of price, £40, was quite attainable, and so that was an investment I was prepared to make. And I think looking at it as an investment when you are paying more substantial money for stuff is no bad thing, because it is an investment. If you spent $6.99 on something to get £40 back, you're not going to get that rate anywhere else. So it's an investment. That puts a more positive spin on it when you're feeling a bit sort of skint for the week. So really rather lovely. And now my next thing, there seems to be a bit of a run on these. This was a baby carrier. Now I never really used one with my son. He was too heavy, too wiggly, and I really couldn't work them out. But I worked this one out because it was fairly common sense, and what drew me to it is it had a nice logo, nice and bright, seemed very well made and very little used. I'm still not entirely sure what goes where, but people in the know will know what goes where. There we go, that was the little pocket tucked away. I tell you, it's more than I could do, but I put it on the mannequin because it is the only way to try and show it being in good order. It's quite a trendy thing, I think. Something a bloke could wear. Again, this had a little bit of rubbing. I did show it. Full instructions. All very, really rather lovely. Now, I didn't pay much for this at all. I paid £2 for it. It was one of my flea market finds. That's the word I'm looking for. Flea market finds. But I got £30 for it. It does. I did research these. Obviously, I looked up their website because that's what you do. You want to make sure you're not missing parts, that you've got everything. There was an optional newborn kind of insert, or little pouch thing that you can put your very small newborn, if your newborn is very small, into, which didn't come with it. So I made sure I declared that right up there in the condition, because I find so many people don't go and look through at the full description. So I try and stick things up in the condition area so that it will be seen, because the last thing I want is someone to come winging back to me because someone thought it had more than it had with it. So there we go. I don't know if you can hear that, but somewhere outside my house some baby's having a right old septi. I expect its mother's probably trying to squeeze it into a pushchair, and it's probably remaining completely rigid. Right, here we go. These lovely, lovely things. Now, you might not recognise their DMs when you first see them because they haven't got that airwear tag coming out the top of the back. But you see boots that look like this, grab them. These weren't particularly new. They were very, very... I took the colours in different lights just to try and explain to people that they can look... They were sort of a blue but with a slightly green tinge. And they're absolutely bloody marvellous. If I could have fitted them, I think I'd have had them, because they're just up my street. I only paid £10 for these. This was from a new contact at the flea market, a very lovely lady. A very lovely lady that I've gotten to know. And these were hers, and she was selling them, and she wanted £10 for them, and I didn't haggle. I just knew she was thinking, oh, well, if I put them on eBay, I could get about 40 for them. And I'm thinking, no, love, these are unusual and they're a good size. And they're too small for me. So they have a little bit of rub. What I have done is I have invested in a leather food, and it smells amazing, and it just really gives them a new lease of life. You know, when something's a little bit scuffed or looks a little dry, it's like putting moisturiser on your skin. So I say it's moisturiser for leather. And I've managed to kind of like really improve the appearance of quite a lot of leather stuff that I've had, and it makes a difference to how it photographs. There's what you're looking for. Obviously, they're Dr. Martens kind of cross on the back. There we are. They're called Eleanor. So I was able to look up the model. You know, they just don't make these anymore. They're discontinued, retired. That's why I put retired on the end of them, because people need to know. The soles were really, really good. They were just beautiful. So I took them from every angle. And I think that probably helped me get the nearly £90 for them. I was more than chuffed. It was a good investment, and if I ever see those again, I'll be on them. So yeah, that was a really good sale for September. Now I put the logo first because yes, it's the trefoil logo for Adidas. It's the old style logo, it's the vintage one that everybody wants, and I know they make modern stuff with this again because they've caught up to their market. But these were horrendous. These were so horrific. But I knew somebody would want them. They were sort of slightly shiny, in a bit of a creepy way. If I actually saw a man wearing these walking down the street, I'd probably go the other way. It was so horrific. But they had the 3 stripes down the side in raster colours. So I put raster colours on them. I did my research and found out they were actually Chili 62 track pants. And that these were, there we go, actually says Chili. I didn't turn that picture around. How are you missing me? There we go, Chili 62. So I showed all the logos, all the bits and pieces, all of the various things, because with Adidas, you know, they are faked. They had 60 written on them. They were just covered in stuff. Now I had to show that one of the zips on the lower leg had lost its little pull. The zip still worked fine. So I declared that, and I knew that someone would want these and they wouldn't care about all of that. I think these were from quite a long time ago. They're definitely vintage. I actually found these in a charity shop. I paid £4 for them. And considering I got £90 back, that was certainly a really, really good sale, and I was very, very happy with those. So there we go. If you see anything, it's this old adage, isn't it, really? You see anything that's kind of ugly and it's got the right label, you can't really lose. Take a punt on these things, because you never know. You know, you might have a fail. I've got things I've bought and I thought, oh, that's a bit of a fail. But I've still made my money back. I haven't lost money. So there's no such thing as a real fail. It's all a learning experience. And I kind of think you've got to invest in your learning with this if it's going to be a long-term business. You've got to treat it as a course, an education for yourself in what works and what doesn't. And if you can bear not to look everything up when you're out and to trust your instincts and intuition will grow and will become better tuned and more enhanced. I always say that to people, because if you don't trust your intuition, you always have to look everything up, then you're never going to develop that skill. It's a use it or lose it thing. It's something you can develop. I mean, I'm very hot on all this sort of thing because I know how good my intuition can be and I trust it. And I always encourage other people to do the same. And when it pays off, you're laughing, aren't you? I certainly was with this one. Well, I'd think I'd be laughing if I saw someone wearing them, but there you go. Next, another unusual item. Green. It's a Levi's denim jacket, but it's in green. I've seen red ones. I've sold red ones. There's obviously the denim ones in blue. I've sold suede ones. I've sold black ones. But I'd never seen a green one. Absolutely extraordinarily amazing. I knew it was men's from the length of the sleeves. It was quite a small size, and I did give all the measurements. Nonetheless, I have sold this twice because the first person who bought it, it didn't fit. So I popped it back on and upped the price a bit. I thought if it was that popular, and blow me, it's gone again. So I'm hoping this doesn't come back. but it's been gone quite a while now, so hopefully that's the case. So really nice jacket there. I paid £5 for it. It was only on at £5, and yes, that was a charity shop. Bizarrely, the label was on upside down. Levi's do funny things with their labels. They sometimes have them upside down. They'll sometimes have just the little R in a circle, rather than Levi's. They have these variations, and I think people who collect know something about why there are these variations, that every 1 in 10 is made slightly differently. But this was definitely authentic, had all the right buttons, and you get to know what real Levi's feel like, the quality of the stitching, the inner buttons, all these little things. And there were lots of sites that will tell you about how to spot authenticity. This had plainly been worn, but not very much. And for £5 paid, $36.99 sale with £4 in shipping. I am now pretty much on a default basis charging $3.99 on shipping. I'm unapologetic about it because I know we get caned for VAT on this, that and the other, and it soon gets swallowed up. Obviously, if it's something very small, no, I don't charge that amount. If it's something bigger, I charge more. But my packing materials cost me. It costs me time and energy. And I feel my time is worth something. So you have to value your time as a reseller, because we do this 24/7 near enough. Those of us doing it full time, and if you're doing it part time, you're flipping brave, because it ends up eating into every hour you have. I know it does. So value your time. This is your way of saying, and it's not killed my sales. By the same token, I have on my dispatch time, actually why it says 6 to 8, I don't know, delivery, because my dispatch time is 3 to 5 working days. The reason I do that is not because I can't get off my arse and post things, but it means I don't get any late defects. And people are often really delighted because they get their parcel a bit earlier than they were expecting. It stops people wanting it at the last minute and then moaning if it's not there the next day because the post doesn't work that way. So I've found it actually, for me, and everyone's got their own ideas on it, but to my experience, it's not harming me to have that slightly longer dispatch time. It just covers me in case I can't find something, which happens occasionally, I have to say. In my extensive stockroom, I've got well over 800 items listed, and quite a few more to go on. Pile of shame, cough. So, yeah, I've not found it's hurt me in any way. Let's put it that way. So consider it if you're struggling with, a rising late problem. So, next. This looks incredibly dull, but again, don't overlook the dull. This is Suede. Suede skirts in autumn seem to do very well. Autumn and spring. This is brown, and brown isn't the world's most popular colour, but don't discount brown. There are a lot of people out there who don't like to wear black. I'm not one of them. And it's a high quality item. Betty Barclay is a very nice quality brand, fairly high end. It's very well made, a nice style. It was a good size as well. It was a 16. And they are generous, they are fairly generous, these higher end brands. It's fully lined, all rather lovely. And, it didn't really cost me much. I think it was about £2 in a bundle I got. It was being ignored and unloved, and I've got it to somebody for £23 with £3 shipping. And it was a lovely thing. It took a little while to go. I think it went round 2 or 3 cycles, because I think I acquired it in the summer. And I have to say that I don't bother too much with seasonality. If I've got jumpers, obviously I make sure they go on. And now, if you've got jumpers, get them on. And ditto for coats and ski wear. Get your ski wear on as well. But I'm still listing the summery stuff. I know there are lots of people who go to Australia at this time of year. There are many people who want to go to Florida or are travelling to somewhere warmer. There is always a market for cruise wear, summer stuff. There's always someone in the world who wants it. So unless you've got a thing where if you put too many on, you're going to be paying massive fees. I've got the medium-sized shop, so I've still got quite a lot of flexibility with what I can put on. I just put everything on because if it's not on, it can't be purchased. So there we go. That was the Betty Barclay skirt. We're getting there. I'm probably boring you all now. The other thing I have to say is do buy cashmere. If you see anything that's in cashmere, jumpers, what have you, get it, because it will fly out the minute it comes in. And don't underprice yourself. People will pay good money for that. Right, moving on. Well, anyone who loves Liberty will recognise this. In fact, I think I showed it in my haul that I did just recently. I've only had this for a very few minutes. Days even. God, what am I talking? Complete nutter. Body chatter. Right. This was pure cotton. This is a design called Hera by Liberty Fabrics. I know my Liberty prints because I'm a massive fan of Liberty London as a store, and I adore all of their stuff. I might not necessarily wear it, but I love the patterns. I'm a scarf fan, you see, so you get a lot of these patterns in scarves. So this was a lovely thing. Very bright, very bold, and it's I believe it was a man's one, but equally it could be worn by a lady. And I sold this for £30. Now I did pay £4 for it. I found it £4.50. There we go, I'm lying to you, it was £4.50 in a charity shop. But I'm not going to leave that behind. These things, there are people out there who are massive fans of Liberty. There you go, that's what you want to be seeing. Gosh, there we go, it's a bit better. That nice purple label, that tells you it's fairly modern. There are different styles of labels and you can research it. So it's reasonably modern. And made in England, so yeah, actually no, that saying that's made in England, so that's why I put vintage, because it really isn't that modern. Things aren't made in England anymore, very rarely. So there we go, £29.99 and shipping. Let's go on. Yeah, right, there you go. I picked these up a couple of weeks ago. They were in fact cost me the princely sum of about 33p. It was 3 items for £1. Not something I'm familiar with, and something our charity shops rarely do. But they might look a bit sort of miserable, but inside it said Shane Dorian's signature board short, and I believe he's some sort of surfer. Or it's not my area, can you tell? But they were really nicely embroidered. They had all this embroidery on and embellishment, and this was in a gold. And I just thought, I know they're Billabong, and Billabong do all right. For what I paid, if I got a tenner for them, I'd have been happy. But when I looked these up, they were obviously a thing. They're what people like to have. Whoops, sorry, I'm probably making you all a bit dizzy there. So, yeah, nice and plain on the back. So, yeah, £16.99 I put those up for, and they went very quickly. I may have underpriced them slightly, but they were pretty cool and in good condition considering the colour of them. So I was quite happy with those. So even in the depths of October, and they were sold on the 8th of October, there's people still looking. And a final one, again, pretty hard to photograph. This was just some fabric, and I thought it was quite a decent colour, and it was kind of like a bit like a slight brushed cotton, like a sheet, but it wasn't a sheet, it was actually fabric with a selvage. There was only 7 metres of it, and I think I paid about £3.50 for it. There's one charity shop I've got that regularly will just have bits of fabric, and I tend to grab them because I find they tend to do well. That's quite a nice one of it. What someone wanted to do with it, I don't know, but I did put that it was vintage because it clearly is, the colours, and it's a lovely design. But I did put that it was brushed cotton because people seek it. I put it's check, popular, and I didn't know if it was for shirting or pyjamas. But I put those in because I wanted people to know, you know, what it could be used for. Who knows where that's gone, but that didn't take long to go. That took one cycle, I think. And it's the time of year when people are wanting cosy, so I was quite pleased with that. So there you go. There's a bit of a roundup of recent sales. I'm so sorry it's taken me so long to do this. I hope this works. Please let me know if it's absolute rubbish and the picture's appalling. Please tell me. And maybe I'll get to do a live hangout at some time when I'm not quite so dishevelled as I plainly am today. I like this because I haven't actually got to sit in front of the camera. Nice. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I do hope you've all had good, lovely sales. Please subscribe, please share, as you wish, and hopefully I'll have something up for you again soon. Take care now. I shall say goodbye when I can turn this off. Bye.